The breakthrough that changed Helen Keller's life did not happen in a classroom. It happened beside a hand pump in an Alabama yard. Helen Adams Keller was born at Ivy Green in Tuscumbia, Alabama in 1880, a child whose first memories of the world included light, sound, family voices, and the warm disorder of home. When she was 19 months old, a severe illness left her deaf and blind, and even now historians describe the exact disease carefully because the medical record did not leave us a tidy receipt.
By childhood, Helen was bright, intense, frustrated, and often overwhelming to the household, because intelligence without a shared language is not peace. It is a locked door with someone knocking from both sides. Her parents searched for help, and that search eventually led through Alexander Graham Bell to Perkins School for the Blind in Boston. The search led to Anne Sullivan, a young Perkins graduate with serious vision problems of her own, who arrived in Tuscumbia on March 3, 1887, carrying training, nerve, and probably more confidence than the situation had earned.
Anne had survived poverty, the Tewksbury almshouse, eye disease, and an education she had to fight her way into. So she did not arrive as a polished fairy godmother. She arrived as someone who understood locked doors. She arrived with the manual alphabet and began spelling words into Helen's hand, using touch as a bridge where sight and hearing could not do the usual work. Helen learned to imitate the finger patterns, even spelling words like doll. But at first, she did not understand that those patterns were names connected to things.
Anne saw that discipline mattered, but crushing Helen's spirit would have been the wrong victory, the kind adults sometimes confuse with success when they are tired. For 2 weeks, Anne and Helen lived apart from the main house in a small cottage where the lessons could become steadier, clearer, and less tangled in family rescue missions. In early April, one stubborn confusion kept returning. Helen mixed up mug, milk, and drink, which is what happens when language is still a pile of puzzle pieces without the picture on the box. On April 5, 1887, while Helen was washing, she asked in her own way for the name of water, and Anne spelled the word into her hand. After breakfast, Anne decided the same word might finally straighten out the mug and milk confusion, so they went outside to the pump house. At the pump, cold water ran over one of Helen's hands, while Anne spelled W-A-T-E-R into the other.
This time, the sensation and the spelling arrived together, not as two separate mysteries, but as one idea landing from two directions at once. Helen stopped, then dropped the mug, and the ordinary yard at Ivy Green became the place where a word finally attached itself to the world. Anne later wrote that a new light came into Helen's face, which is the kind of sentence history keeps, because it knows not to improve it. Helen spelled water several times, and then the discovery did what real discoveries do. It immediately demanded more work. Then she touched the ground, the pump, the trellis, and Anne herself, asking for names as if the whole yard had suddenly become readable. All the way back to the house, Helen wanted the names of everything she touched, and within a few hours, she had added about 30 words to her vocabulary.
That is why the pump matters, but it is also why the story is often told too simply. The water did not cure Helen. It gave her access. Once names existed, every object became a door, and every door suggested another room. Helen went on to learn the manual alphabet, raised print, reading, writing, and later speech, though she remained honest about the limits and frustrations of her spoken voice. In 1900, Helen entered Radcliffe College, and in 1904, she graduated with honors, becoming the first deaf-blind person to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree.
She built a life in words, books, essays, lectures, correspondence, and a passport that listed her profession as author. In 1924, she joined the American Foundation for the Blind and spent more than 40 years advocating for people with vision loss in the United States and around the world. She also campaigned for women's suffrage, labor rights, peace, and other causes, because apparently, once language opened the door, Helen Keller had no interest in staying politely in one room. The scene is famous because of the pump, but the real story has two human beings in it: a child hungry for the world and a teacher stubborn enough to keep finding a way in. Anne stayed beside Helen for decades, reading, spelling, traveling, interpreting, arguing, protecting, and doing the exhausting daily work that a single dramatic scene can never fully show. The pump at Ivy Green is still treated as part of a historic place because that yard held more than a sweet childhood memory. It held a turning point in how America imagined education and disability.
Even the pump itself has become an object of historical detective work, because once a plain iron handle becomes a symbol, history immediately asks for serial numbers and backup documentation. The scene survives because one word proved that Helen could connect touch, thought, and the outside world in a way everyone around her could finally recognize. It also reminds us that teaching is rarely a thunderclap. More often it is repetition, patience, failure, adjustment, and then one ordinary morning when the right doorway opens. Anne did not hand Helen a finished life. She helped open a method, and Helen rushed through it with the force of someone who had been waiting for language to stop hiding. That is Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan at the water pump, so oddly human that history changed through cold water, two hands, and one word finally finding its way home.